Hello everyone, Zadix Squared here. Welcome to Clan Krug. So normally I try not to do too many builds that are incredibly strong, mostly just because I'm avoiding the stuff that's incredibly popular at the time. It's not really worthwhile for me or for you for me to do builds that are being heavily talked about, just because you've probably already seen it. But with GMs coming out in just over a week, I wanted to talk about some builds that are really strong right now. And so I'm going to be spending the next week, today, on Friday, and next Tuesday, talking about a build for each class that is incredibly strong that I think you could bring into GMs if you don't have anything else, and it's going to serve you really well there. So for today, I wanted to talk about Strand Titan and the new exotic Abeyant Leap. When this exotic was first announced, I didn't really think it was going to be all that strong. I was still at that point pretty skeptical about Strand on Titan in general. And now that I've gotten to play it, I've been able to see that I really was wrong about it. Not only is Strand Titan quite good, Dranger's Lash by itself is already incredibly strong, and Abeyant Leap giving you 2 additional projectiles on that, and also making them track, is really good. I believe it's one of the best crowd control abilities in the game right now, right up there with stasis turrets. It's just so incredibly strong to be able to suspend everything around you, and because of Abeyant Leap, you can not only suspend more things, but also it's going to be more likely to actually hit things since those projectiles track. And on top of that, you gain Woven Mail whenever you suspend targets, which not only works with your class ability, but also works with one of the current seasonal mods. For fragments, I'm running Thread of Mind, Thread of Continuity, Thread of Warding, and Thread of Wisdom. The synergy on all of these fragments and abilities are insane. You can use your class ability to suspend a large group of targets, which, because of Thread of Continuity, they're suspended for even longer than they normally would be. Then, whenever you kill any of these suspended targets because of Thread of Mind, you get back class ability energy, which makes it so that you're able to cast your class ability energy sooner to be able to suspend more targets. Whenever you defeat a suspended target with precision final blows, you create an Orb of Power, and picking up an Orb of Power grants Woven Mail. Because you also get Woven Mail whenever you suspend targets, this means that you can have Woven Mail up almost 24/7. You get it whenever you first suspend targets, and then if you kill a target with precision damage and pick up that orb, then you'll get it again. And thanks to all the mods that we're able to run, alongside all of the other fragments we're already running, we're able to suspend targets almost immediately as soon as we're done suspending the first group of targets. For mods, I'm running Heavy Ammo Finder, Void/Strand Dual Siphon, 3 Harmonic Loaders, Concussive Dampener, Emergency Reinforcement, Solar Resistance, that you could trade this out for any other resistance mod depending on what activity you're running, Insulation, Recuperation, Absolution, Reaper, Proximity Ward, and Outreach. This helps improve the build even more by giving us Orbs of Power from our weapon final blows. It helps me reload the Immortal, which is the primary weapon that I'm running. It helps tank a little bit with Concussive Dampener and the Solar Resistance mod. And Emergency Reinforcement is a really good get-out-of-jail-free card, especially in high-end content. Insulation, Recuperation, and Absolution all help us whenever we pick up an orb. Insulation and Absolution both give us ability energy whenever we pick up an orb. Insulation specifically gives us class ability energy. And Recuperation gives us health every time that we pick up an orb. This means that if we have 10 orbs on the ground and we run over all of them, we'll get a bunch of ability energy and we'll heal a bunch, which helps us stay alive when we're picking up orbs. Reaper is going to make it so that whenever we use our barricade, it's going to suspend a bunch of targets, and then when we kill one of those targets, we'll create an orb. And if we kill them with a precision final blow, we're going to actually make 2 orbs. Proximity Ward is going to make it so that we get an overshield whenever we're performing our finisher, which is going to help us just stay safe while finishing in high-end content. And Outreach is going to give us melee energy whenever we use our class ability. For weapons, you can run almost anything with this build, though I've chosen to go with the Immortal, Ness's Oblation, and Grand Overture. Grand Overture is an incredibly strong heavy weapon right now and is great for both boss damage and general ad clear. Ness's Oblation comes from Root of Nightmares and is also a slug frame, and it's very similar to Heritage. It is in the energy slot rather than kinetic slot, but it still gets Reconstruction, it still gets Vorpal, it still gets basically everything that Heritage has, but it's in a different slot. This allows us to run the Immortal, which is a Strand weapon, as our primary weapon, my Immortal has both Perpetual Motion and Hatchling on it, which is just going to be good for general gameplay and for creating as many Threadlings as I can. It's also going to pair really, really well with our artifact mods. Specifically in this case, Allied Unraveling, Untangler, and Threaded Blast. I'm also running Volatile Flow, which works really well with Nessa's Ablation, and Shatter Orbs. I think this is actually the strongest artifact mod that we have this season, as the first time that you break a combatant shield with a weapon matching the damage type, you create an Orb of Power. This will allow you to make dozens or even hundreds of Orbs of Power in a mission if you're using the correct energy type to break shields. This build works best if you have someone running some other really strong builds alongside you, something like a Starfire Protocol Warlock or a Void Hunter, as it's going to be incredibly good for crowd control, but it doesn't give you all that much for actual damage. Obviously, the heavy weapon I'm running is going to be instrumental in actually dealing some damage, but it's not going to have anything like a massive super for damage or anything like that. Strand super is kind of good on Titan, but it does put you in a very vulnerable position and takes a while to actually do any amount of damage. I normally use it more for killing large groups of adds, especially if there's something like a Wyvern or a champion in that mix that is going to really screw up your team if you don't deal with it. The way I play this build is I first start off by casting my Barricade, suspending as many targets as I can. I'll then try and get as many precision kills as I can to spawn as many orbs as I can. And if you kill enough targets, you can actually get your entire class ability energy back and be able to cast your Barricade immediately again in order to suspend even more enemies. From here, as you're killing enemies, you're not only spawning Orbs of Power, but if you're using a gun with Hatchling like I am, you're going to be creating Threadlings. And also, if you defeat these targets while they're suspended, you'll create Tangles. If you then shoot a Tangle, it's going to create a large blast, which has the ability to suspend even more things. Anytime that you suspend a target, or pick up an Orb of Power, you're going to get Woven Mail, which is going to make you fairly tanky. And picking up orbs, if you run the same mods I am, is also going to heal you and give you a lot of class ability energy, as well as melee and grenade energy as well. For champions, I'm only running an SMG. Due to the fact that I'm running Volatile Flow and I have Suspend on my Barricade, I'm able to deal with both barriers and unstoppable champions without having a specific weapon, giving me the ability to run a shotgun and a heavy weapon of my choice, no problem. You do have to play a little bit safer with this build, as you're not able to rush in, you're not so incredibly tanky that you can live through anything, but it is going to give you the ability to deal with large groups of enemies. It's incredibly good if your teammates die, if you need to be able to give some crowd control, to give you some breathing room to be able to revive them, and you can also give yourself and your allies Woven Mail quite easily. Cap that off with the fact that you're able to run literally any weapons with this build and it still works exactly the same. And it's a very versatile build that I think is going to be incredibly good when GM's released next week. And that's it. I've provided the dim link for the build in the description, and I've also put the preview for the loadout at the end of the video. With that in mind, thank you all for watching. I've been Zadix Squared. If you have any questions about this build, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'm sure to get back to you at some point. Till next time, everyone. See ya.